Welcome back to the Radio Academy podcast. I'm your host, Georgie Jameson, and this week we have a specially extended episode for you, recorded live at our Birmingham summer social event in August. Kaylee Golding from BBC Radio 1 was in conversation with our MD, Aradhna Tayal Leach, chatting about the Radio Academy and how Aradhna's first year in the role has gone. A big thank you to Kaya Hazel for guest producing this episode, and the first voice you'll hear introducing Aradhna and Kaylee is one of our trustees, Birmingham.
Good evening. And thank you, everybody. A very, very good evening. And thank you all for joining us for the Radio Academy's summer socials. It was summer when I left this morning. I had to put a nice jacket on. And of course, it starts to rain. But thank you all very, very much for coming to the Radio Academy's Midlands and Birmingham event. And as a Brummie, I'm always very, very excited when we do something in good old Brum. So thank you all for coming and supporting this. And I suppose the key thing I should say, and I always like to say, is that the Radio Academy, we are a charity, and it's been going for quite a few decades. 1983 it was set up, so even before I started in business, and I've been knocking around for a few decades. But the key thing about the Radio Academy is it really represents absolutely everybody in audio. You know, you dabble in a bit of podcasting, you work for a radio station, you have your own independent company now, like I do. The Radio Academy is really there to support you, and it's somewhere where you can feel connected and you can tap into what's going on. And certainly one of the best things I did when I left the BBC was to pay my £36 a year, and I joined the Radio Academy. And really, for me, it's been wonderful, because actually I then went on to become a trustee on the Radio Academy, and I now get involved in all sorts of events that the Academy does up and down the country. And we do lots of things whereby we work with students. We do an event called A Foot in the Door. But at the moment I'm doing the Radio Academy Festival, which is really probably one of the most sort of highlights in the calendar that we do, and it's an opportunity for absolutely everybody to come along to the festival and really celebrate and learn and find out really what's going on in the audio world, and really why we are so bloody brilliant and how we can carry on being even more brilliant. So thank you very much for coming. And this is really special because we have our managing director, Aradhna, who's joined us this evening. And she's been in the job for 1 year. So this is your opportunity to ask her what it's really like. And she's very good. She does tell you, and she's a bit behind the scenes. So anything you want to ask, you can ask her absolutely anything. So have some questions ready for her. Before I sort of hand over to them, let me just also say this evening would not be possible without Create Central this evening. So a huge thank you for them for sponsoring this evening, particularly to Martin and Laura and all the team at Create Central. A big shout out to Kaya. Kaya's going to be producing today's episode. So thank you for doing that. I also should say thank you to Lee and the team at the Grand Hotel. And finally, let me now hand you over to the wonderful BBC Radio 1's Kaylee Golding, who I love listening to, and Aradhna Tayal Leach, our Managing Director. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I hope you have had a great day so far, and this evening I'm super excited. It's my time to kind of grill you. No, I'm joking. I'll be nice. So for anyone joining us today, could you just talk a little bit about what it is that you do for the Radio Academy?
Hi everyone, and thank you so much for coming out on what's turned out to be a bit of a dull day, but I really appreciate it. I'm really, really pleased to hopefully get to speak to all of you afterwards as well, so do hang around if you can for a bit. So yeah, I'm Aradhna. I'm the Managing Director of the Radio Academy, have been for 1 year now, so an exciting moment for me.
I feel like we need to gas you. A year, that is the whole achievement. Yeah.
Thank you.
I could just let you sit there and be like a year and just keep that simple.
Just say it. So what does a managing director actually do? So basically I'm responsible for the ongoing maintenance of, like, looking after delivery of everything that the charity does, make sure the charity stays healthy, make sure that we're there fulfilling our charitable mission, which is to support excellence in UK radio and audio. That means look after all of you, all of the people who work in podcasting and radio and streaming and music, behind the scenes, in front of the mic, in technology, in news. The people are what make our industry. And so the Radio Academy is there for those people. And it's my job to make sure that we actually do that. That's kind of the big picture. What does it actually mean in practice? It's everything from getting to come to events like this and be able to talk to lots of people, find out, okay, what is it that you who are here to support actually want, so that we can make sure we deliver it. It's managing a team who are utterly fabulous to be able to hold events like this, all of the behind the scenes, to work with the festival team, to work with the ARIAs team, to make sure that we can keep putting on the events. And that's, checking the catering, checking the, the train times and booking the hotels. Honestly, it's a very, very, very small team. So it's very, very much not all glamorous. It's also, picking up the boxes and tidying the room and putting away the chairs afterwards as well. I do a lot of that. I keep a lot of stuff underneath my desk at home as well. There's a bit of that. So it's definitely the glamorous with the rest. But you know that because you all work in radio and we all have to do a little bit of everything, don't we? And it's never as glamorous as it looks from the outside. And it is also a little bit of, getting stuck into a spreadsheet and making sure that that we're looking after the business and that we're staying, healthy. We're doing things economically, we're doing things sustainably, and looking after the life of the charity.
Wow. So definitely a busy bee then. You're definitely getting things done. So that's your role now, but not everyone might know your journey into audio and your background in audio. So could you talk a little bit through how you got into audio and what kind of things you was interested in beforehand?
Yeah, so I have a bit of a different route into audio, especially here at the Radio Academy. So I was an engineer, and actually my first love had always been dancing and theatre and stories, writing and performing. And so it was really exciting when I saw that there was this job at the BBC, which was a BBC engineer. And I kind of thought, I didn't even know that was a thing, because I thought of, and media, that's all about being on telly, isn't it? So as a radio engineer, that means that you're supporting all of the equipment and the technology in studios and production areas, and making sure that, all of this brilliant audio that we're making actually goes out to listeners. And then I've worked for about 20 years doing all sorts of different things and have really moved around a lot. So I'll just sort of highlight a few things. One of the best moments in my career, I was looking after project managing part of our delivery of the Commonwealth Games at the BBC in 2014 when it was in Glasgow. And it was really cool because I was looking after a team to get TV channels on air. I worked in training and development, where I really found a love for developing people. And that goes beyond sitting in a classroom and talking about, here's the latest equipment, here's how it works, this is how you use it, to actually this lifelong learning and a passion for developing people. So that's where I think I really learned this kind of, just this thing where I just wanted to bring people together, get different people talking about their job and what they love about it and how they do it, sharing ideas. And so then that's what I ended up going on to do. So I then set up my own consultancy, and I worked with people across media, so across podcasting, radio, TV and film as well, to work on industry development. So that's exactly what I was just talking about. What is it that we need to do to support people, to support ideas, to support ourselves, to therefore build a better, stronger, safer, more resilient industry? And kind of we lift the industry when we lift the people in it. That's what I've been doing as a consultant for the last few years. And then a year ago now, the Radio Academy, it was such a natural fit to be able to come here and live that and be in this independent charitable position where our reason for being is to connect everyone in the industry and to work with people and look purely at, okay, I'm not coming to make programs. You do that really well. I'm here to look after you and what you need to do. It's just been really exciting. Really love it.
Wow, what a journey. And I know before we jumped into this panel, we spoke, and when you did the Meet the MD talk last year, you was only a couple of weeks in. So now you're a year in. What have you learned about the industry whilst you're in this role from this lens?
Yeah, really good question. I just feel like everything in a way. I mean, for all that I've worked in this industry for 20 years, I do truly believe in lifelong learning. And I just, every encounter with a different person, I'm learning something new. I think probably in particular, being in this role and having kind of the unique perspective and being able to have the conversations I have here, I am rediscovering like a real joy for audio. I have to say, it was my first job as a radio engineer. As I said, I move around a lot. There's just an excitement and a creativity in creating audio. So that's been one thing, but also just how much joy there is for people who are doing it, which does make me feel even more passionate about needing to make sure those people are looked after, because I think you can fall down this hole of, well, I love doing this, I'm privileged to be able to do this and as my job, and it's what I need to do and I get to do it as a career. But then you can fall down, oh, okay, well, I have to do whatever it takes. And you just think, well, who's looking after you while you do whatever it takes? How are you being supported to look after yourself? So I think that's one thing, kind of the joy in it, and therefore the need for us to look after each other. I'm learning a lot about kind of the new and exciting ways that we can collaborate. With my background of having, worked across lots of different parts of the industry, it's sometimes as a business, which, the entertainment industry is one of the biggest industries in the UK economically, which is something that we don't say enough and we should be incredibly proud of, and we should shout louder about, our place in society and what we do. For all that, whether you work in speech radio, whether you work in music streaming, whether you work in, individual podcasts or series, it's almost like you're in a completely different world, a completely different business with each thing. Everything has its own little business model. And you've got to learn all of these different things. And there's, it's a lot. So I'm learning a lot about how all of those different businesses work. But what I was going to say was I'm learning about where there's some really interesting opportunities, a lot of which have been realised, I would say, only just in the last 5 years or so, with the changes in the industry, the changes in consumer habits, the changes in how we're responding to that, how technology and production and creativity are working closer together, and where we're finding those kind of ways to cross traditional barriers. For example, visualization and just bringing TV and audio a little bit closer together in a way where it's just like, we're in the business of storytelling. Let's not get caught up in what the medium is to do that. I think that's something that I'm learning kind of how to navigate that, and I feel quite excited about it. And I think we're only on the start of that journey as well.
I really like the point that you mentioned as well about looking after one another when it comes to the industry. And I can't speak for everyone, but I do think sometimes we can get in that headspace where it's like, oh, well, if I don't do this, even though I'm really tired, if I don't do this, I'm going to lose out on an opportunity. How would you advise for someone to look after their headspace as well as still trying to work hard and get those opportunities?
The first thing I'll say, you probably heard other people say this a lot, and it's easier said than done, I appreciate, but is to be really honest and brave to be able to say no if you need to, and to be honest with yourself about, can I take this on? Is this right for me at the moment? And trust that another opportunity will come round and it will be better because it was the right one at the right time. I can't emphasize enough how much you just have to have a life outside of your job. I fall really foul of this, especially in this job. A lot of my good friends work in the industry. A lot of my good friends I've made from working in the industry. And you've got to sort of stop yourself sometimes and not let work take over, and just, have a hobby, have something else that you do that can just lift you out of it a bit.
So true. How important then is it to you that the Radio Academy is doing things for outside of London? Because I think now the industry is really actually moving outside of London, and it's nice. So how do you feel about it?
I'm really glad that you see that change, because it's one of the top things that from day one of coming into this job, and something that I've done a lot sort of through my other work, my consultancy as well, kind of reaching out outside of London, I think is really important. And it's not just important because it's a nice thing to do. We can't exist as this incredibly successful industry and have sustainability if we don't do that, because you're missing out on like most of the country's worth of talent, and you're also missing out potentially then on properly reflecting and representing most of your audiences, which are all across the UK. So not only is it like vitally important as a business case, but it also is just it makes for a richer, more interesting place to work. So you miss out on all of that.
So what regional events have you enjoyed delivering then as part of the Radio Academy?
I think my highlight of things that have been taking place all over the UK has got to be Foot in the Door.
Do you want to just explain a little bit about what it is?
Yeah.
So people know.
So Foot in the Door is a day of training and making connections. It's a brilliant day. We move to a different city with each one. It takes place at the moment 3 times a year. I've been in Leeds, in Salford, in Glasgow, hoping to have one in Birmingham soon. And it's aimed predominantly, I would say, early career people. But actually, what I've discovered from going to 3 of them now is that I learned something at every single one of them. Because, as I said, lifelong learning, you don't know it all. What about you? You've been in the industry 10 years as a producer of live breakfast radio, and you've been experimenting with podcasting or with a pre-built program. There's so much to learn that never ends. So I'd say we try and reach out to those people who are maybe working in volunteering in community radio or in student radio, or maybe people having a career change or returning to work after a break. We go to the city, we partner with the local student station. We tend to be in the local university as well, rather than being, in an industry building. So very much the industry coming to you. And then we have maybe 30 or 40 guest speakers who come from Bauer Media, from BBC, from News UK, from all of the production companies, a lot of presenters, producers, managers, technology people. And we have sort of training style workshops. So they're essentially panel discussions, but we get quite practical about how can I increase my brand visibility? How do I build a brand? How do I create a successful music show? Where does the speech fall into that? How do you create your links? A little bit about, the legal implications. Yes, sharing our experiences, but trying to get quite practical. So hopefully you leave the day having learned something and feeling that you can go away and start making your audio better straight away. And the second huge important part of the day is it's all about networking. It's the less go away of it is just saying it's talking to people. So it's meeting all of these industry guests, but it's also meeting each other. So we'll have about 120, 150 people come to these, and you think they all live within your broad local area, and they all love audio. So just think how many connections you can make there and people that you might end up collaborating with. And also you're meeting, say, 40 or so of the current biggest employers. So if you're looking for a job, those are the people that you want to be talking to. They're the ones who are going to take your demo tapes. It's such a buzzing day. And I think that there's been a lot of success stories as well. People who have met at Foot in the Door, who've gone on to work at the Love Supreme Festival, for Jazz FM. We had someone shadowing Jeremy Vine on Radio 2. So, you know, this works all because I talked to them, got their email address and then followed up. And I love that that's taking place all around the country and that the industry is going to those cities and meeting people and spending time there.
So, of course, the Radio Academy membership is £3. What do you actually get for that?
Yeah, I tell you what, you get more than a cup of coffee. So it's £3 a month, £36 a year. It's first and foremost a way to belong and feel part of this brilliant audio community that we're all in. It supports a charity to support you. It gives you access to events like this that take place all over the country several times a year. You get discounts to some of our paid events. So for example, Foot in the Door costs £6 and includes, you know, drinks and refreshments and all sorts. It pays for itself, but also gives you access to those member-only activities that we do. You can go to the festival, that's members only. Our awards every year, the ARIAs, whether you want to enter or whether you just want to come along on the night and get inspired, meet some people, they're member only events. And then also you get access to all of our resources online. So we've got, I think, over 100 videos of panels, loads of leading experts from across the sector sharing information about what they do. Just sort of that kind of gold dust, you know, people like you talking at you know, those events a couple of years ago. You can watch all of those. They're all free for members on our website. We also, you may not know, we do a lot of different development activities. So we have RAMP, which is our Radio Academy mentoring programme. Again, you have to be a member to apply. This is an absolutely fantastic programme that we run at 6 months. It's for people at that sort of mid-career level. So, you know, I said you might have been in the industry 10 years and you're just thinking, well, what next? And it's like, is this just me now until I retire? I want to grow, I want to do something else, or I'm not quite getting that next promotion that I want. So it's mentoring, but for those people who are kind of, you know, at least 5 years professional experience, maybe even 10, to be able to take the next step in their career. And it's something that nobody else does. Really important. So do check that out because it's going to be opening for applications in the autumn. As I said, we run Foot in the Door. We have events like this. I'd really, really love to hear as well what else you'd like from events like these. What more could we do? What would you like to come to? Who would you like to hear from? You know, other than just me. And let's see if we can work together and make that happen.
Amazing. The mentor scheme as well. I've heard such good things about it as well. So what else then would you like to achieve for the Radio Academy?
So many plans. I think, you know, I said from the beginning, the reason that I'm doing this is that I really, truly believe in what we do as an industry and that stems from the people. I believe that we need to be a really inclusive, diverse, representative workforce within the industry. And I think that we've still got a little way that we can go with that. We can keep reaching out more to different regions and again, not just outside of London, but as you said, outside of those little hubs, you know, okay, well, yeah, so you're in Manchester, okay, well, what about if you're in Lancaster, you know? So reaching out to marginalised communities, people who've been underrepresented, people who don't feel welcome, who don't feel like they can, you know, bring their true self to work, bring their own voice to work. And I keep saying safe, you know, looking after our well-being and making sure that individuals are safe, but that we have a culture of safety and belonging within all of the different organisations. And that's something I believe strongly that the Radio Academy has an important responsibility to play with, working with our members, with our patron members, with our partner organisations as well to champion and move forward. So that's what we'll be doing.
Oh, Aradhna, thank you so much. You honestly do such great work. Can everyone please give a round of applause for the lovely Aradhna?
Thank you.
Superstar. So we do have time for a Q&A. Okay, has anyone got a question? Okay, there we are.
Hi, my name's Jamil. I'm a presenter and producer currently at the BBC. I work across radio, TV and digital. And yeah, like I said, my journey started off in TV similar to you. My question is, sometimes I feel like when I'm in TV and I'm applying for my next job in radio, I sometimes feel pigeonholed because they think your most recent experience is in TV. So how are you going to do radio or vice versa? What is your opinion on that and navigating that? And because I like having that kind of multi-platform career, but do you think it's important to have a specialism or niche?
I've come across that as well because I've worked across all. I think there's a couple of different things. One is I do think it's changing, possibly a bit slower than it should, but as we're getting into this world of, you know, TV is on the radio and every TV program has a podcast and radio is visualized, you know, there's so much crossover. So I think that part of it is in your application process, to be honest, of really selling what it is that you can do, looking at the job, what is it that you need, and what does my unique background with experience in TV bring to your audio brand that nobody else could do. Like that's, I think, the way that I would approach selling it. I sort of have always been a jack of all trades and I've loved that. And now looking back over 20 years and being like, oh yeah, I understand what the journey has been now. But that doesn't mean that I think you have to neglect other things because you have to only focus, I can only ever be, you know, an editor. So that's got to be what I do. I think you can edit and you can present and you can produce and you can go and do a bit of TV work, but you need to know your craft.
Amazing.
Does that help?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I'm Grace. I do present on BBC Local Radio. First of all, how important do you think personal branding is to this? What's the best way to get established in that and to go about it?
Brand is really important, all the more so now. And there's kind of two elements to it, aren't there? You know, there's a brand of a particular show or a particular podcast or a particular platform. But I do think there is something about your own personal brand now as well. That doesn't have to mean, however, that, you know, you are suddenly going to have to mimic being an Instagram influencer and amazing at using, you know, all of the different, because I don't even know the right words, but, you know, all of the things that they do to make shiny pictures. So you don't have to do that. Like, your individual brand is you. What is you? It's your knowledge and it's your skills. So I do think that that's what becomes your brand. And if you want to put that brand on through social media, that's fine. Or also, there's a brand around being the person who knows other people, who does sharing interesting content. Yes, it's important, but don't get trapped into, oh, it has to be my face here or a particular image of me. It can be about your skills and what you bring to something. It's about getting your name known.
My name is Sharon. I'm with the Student Radio Association. And my question is, well, I'm guessing everybody here is already in the industry, but my question is, what opportunities and mentoring and training program does Radio Academy have for people who want to enter the radio industry? I know you mentioned foot in the door, but apart from that, is there any mentoring or training program for entry level?
Yes, definitely look up the next foot in the door. The other thing is, do look up the different resources as well, because you'll just learn so much also about what all of the different roles are. We don't hold training as such. I would recommend looking up so Audio UK is a trade association for production companies. They also run something called Audio Train, and I think a lot of them are online, and they run various training courses, and some of them are really practical. BBC Sounds has something called Audio Lab. That's also for people at that entry level, and again, it's a structured program. So I'd really recommend those. As a network, you know, obviously, what the Radio Academy is there for is to be able to connect you with other people. This is Nina over here. Nina runs something called UniPodFest, which is in Birmingham. That's got practical training workshops. So keep an eye out for that. And there's other things like that as well. So make those connections. I think probably everyone in the room has at least one suggestion that they could give you. you got any suggestions for that?
I think it depends what you want to do. I actually tried everything, literally. So at one point, I think I was on 8 different stations. I don't know how I got away with it, but I did it. So I was like, let me try student radio. Let me also try community radio. I think just really experiment and just try everything. Networking is great, but I think first and foremost, you need to be able to have the skill set. Even if you're not at the top of your craft yet, people will look at you and say, well, do you know what? You work hard. And that is the most important thing, because I might not be amazing, but you'll know that I'll work really, really hard to be amazing. So that's my tip. Thank you so much to Aradhna. Please give her another round of applause.
A big thank you to BBC Radio 1's Kaylee Golding and our MD Aradhna Tayal Leach. Also, a big thank you to our guest producer, Kaya Hazel. There's still plenty of time to get your tickets for the Radio Academy Festival on the 18th of September, and we're announcing new names and sessions all the time. So check out the website radioacademy.org/festival. If you could share this podcast with people in the audio industry who may not have found us yet, that would be really great. Also, if you want to like and subscribe to the Radio Academy podcast wherever you get your pods, we'd be ever so grateful. Then you'll never miss an episode. Next week, we go backstage at the Arias from May with loads of previously unheard interviews with the winners and the hosts. I'll see you next week.